Good afternoon, and welcome to the Safe Streets Coalition. We're glad that you chose to join us today, and as usual, a YouTube link and survey will be sent to you in just a few days. If you would take just a moment and sign the sign-in sheet in the center of the table, I would appreciate it. The PAR's Safe Streets staff today include Lynn Smith up here at the front. He's our community prevention consultant. And I'm Judy Wilson, Office Manager and National Night Out Coordinator. Please let us know if we can help you with anything or need assistance. Today we do have City Councilman Mike Padilla and Spencer Duncan with us. The agenda for the day is published for your information. It will be, of course, on the YouTube. You'll have all this recording. Today, we are glad to have Haley, Julie, and Robert Lane. Would you please come forward? And we have the police department and also the fire department with us today. Thank you. Yeah, you can just stand right there. That's fine.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have the pleasure today to recognize this young lady. I submitted her name to the Safe Streets Character Recognition Council for actions that she delivered to a family member, her dad. So I'd like to read why we are recognizing Haley Lane. As the strength of our nation is dependent upon the health and safety of its communities, the strength of our communities is dependent upon the character of its citizens. Topeka City of Character and Safe Streets Coalitions of Topeka and Shawnee County recognizes Haley Lane. Our champion of character for October, Haley Lane, on August 16, 2021 at approximately 7:50 p.m., Topeka Fire Department Engine 5 responded to a medical call on a Mr. Robert Lane, Haley's father, who slipped while stepping out of the bathtub and suffered a large laceration to the head. Julie Lane, the patient's wife and Haley's mom, asked Haley, her 12-year-old daughter, to get her cell phone and to call 911. Haley did not know her mother's password to the phone, and her mother told her to help her father while she called 911. Haley helped her father by using a towel and applying pressure to the wound to try and stop the bleeding. Haley continued to apply the pressure to the wound while her mother took care of her other two children until first responders arrived on the scene. Her actions in applying pressure to the wound made a big difference in the potential loss of blood. Her bravery and actions, especially for a 12-year-old, exemplified endurance, determination, and compassion. That is why Haley Lane is being recognized for demonstrating her endurance, determination, and compassion. And I'd just like to say this. It was the firefighters who arrived on the scene realized, this was a very serious situation. Mr. Lane obviously was bleeding profusely from a head injury, and she just went to it. In fact, I've given her our number so she can apply to the fire department when she grows up, and maybe if she doesn't like that, she says she was interested in the medical field like a lot of her family are. So, Haley, this is to recognize you.
I would just like to say that I am glad that my father is okay, that Brian actually helped me through a lot of it, because yes, I was crying because I was scared, and my dad, he had to be admitted to the hospital, and he was fine, but at the same time, he was making my sister scared. He was making everyone scared, thinking that he wouldn't be okay. And here we are now. And Brian was a firefighter on scene, and he helped my sister and my brother and I all through what would have been a bad thing. I love you, Dad.
No, you're okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Haley. Thank you. Uh-huh. We try to have a champion of character recognition at each Safe Streets Coalition meeting. Anyone can nominate a person for exhibiting good character that has significantly improved the health, safety, or quality of life of the community. Any of the 49 different qualities can be considered for a champion of character. Anyone in Shawnee County can be nominated by completing the nomination form and emailing it to me at jwilson@safestreets.org. They're on the screen. The nomination can be found, the form can be found on your table today, or you can go to the PARS website at parstopeka.org and find the form there. The September minutes are shown on the screen. This is just for purposes for recording. They have been emailed to everyone before the meeting, and no action is required. Our staff update for September. You know, we've been really busy in September. The neighborhoods are starting to call again to meet in person. However, you know, since the variant was kind of increased, the neighbors are a little bit hesitant. So we're still sending Safe Streets safety information out to everyone, and we do have some other neighborhoods that are scheduled in the future. But since we've not met really face-to-face, we have emailed other information other than safety. We have 143 neighborhoods, and the information is also requested of us by email or phone. The retailers meeting is normally held. There again, people are a little bit hesitant for that, so we are mailing information to them or answering calls as well. Even though we are working from home part-time, right now we have received 366 calls and emails for service. A lot of the calls that I've been receiving lately are regarding the suspected drug houses. So one day I received 4 calls. So this is from each neighborhood wanting to know what to do. So as we go out and meet with the neighborhoods, we do tell them what to do in case you have a suspected drug house, and to be sure and let the police officers know all the information as far as the description of the person, how long they stayed, what time, what day of the week it was, and then we just submit this all to the police department. And also on the substance misuse initiatives, we did have a town hall meeting on September the 30th by Zoom, and also they've had 3 other meetings as well. And on the Latino initiatives, they've had meetings by Zoom, and also you'll notice that on their Facebook numbers, they've had quite an increase this past month. Next, we have our crime stats. I think Sergeant Dan Wilson will be here to give us an update and some safety tips. Interesting.
You know what you're doing down there with that clicker. I trust you. All right, I'm Sergeant Wilson, Topeka Police Department, Community Policing Unit. Welcome if you haven't been here before. We appreciate you coming. We're going to look first at violent crime statistics. As you can see up there, there's weekly, monthly, and yearly. Different numbers represent either a rise or a decrease. As you can see, year-to-date, great numbers. Monthly, again, solid numbers. Weekly, you know, the last couple weeks, as you've probably seen in the media, we've had a few incidents go on with all, especially with the violent crime. We need everybody's help. You guys see things, you guys know things, you live in these neighborhoods. If you see something that you think is suspicious, let us know. We'll make a determination on what it is. Like I said, a lot of these cases get solved because of a citizen tip or because of somebody's video or something like that. So continue to call us, help us out on this. Again, these numbers are really good, but we can always do better. Property crime stats, same thing, weekly, monthly, yearly. As you can see on the yearly, a lot of green there. We have had a little bit of a uptick, as you can see in the monthly and the weekly, in auto theft, as well as vehicle break-ins. On both of those, some of that is, I would relate to weather change. Remember in the mornings, you know, if you're gonna leave your car warming up, you know, make sure you are either in it or it's, you know, somewhere where your access to it is a lot closer than a criminal. If you're running in to get your coffee at the quick shop, don't leave your car running. That's where some of those are happening, and especially we're gonna have, you know, some cold mornings here coming up. So like I said, do not do that. On the vehicle break-ins, again, I know you guys get tired of hearing it, we get tired of saying it. Don't leave guns in cars, don't leave your laptop in the car. Gyms, grocery stores, you know, your own driveway. So, and again, we've talked about it before, but you know, in the evening before you go to bed, do a little checklist, lock your inside door, make sure your keys, don't leave your keys in your car, even if it's in your garage. You know, all it takes is forgetting to shut that garage door, or your teenage son comes home and forgets to shut it, and your car's gone in the morning, or your weed eater or mower or bicycle, stuff like that. So, like I said, help yourself out, do a little checklist before you go to bed. But again, these are great numbers. If you see something, let us know. If you're a victim, let us know. Judy talked about the drug houses, things like that. We've had some really good citizen tips here recently. And just because you give us a tip and, you know, we don't have the SWAT team at the house within an hour doesn't mean we're not doing something. Sometimes these investigations take a long time. So with community policing, if you want to reach out to us, our phone number is 368-2500, and leave us a message and we'll get back to you. Again, mainly because we're coming into the season where, you know, people are gonna, again, there's a lot of outdoor activities. You know, people are out at the parks, trails, stuff like that, festivals, high school games, stuff like that. And somebody is Christmas shopping already, I'm sure. But like I said, just remove your stuff from your vehicle. Don't leave it out in plain view. You know, especially with these push to start cars, don't leave the extra set of keys in there because these criminals know that they just push to start also. So like I said, lock it, remove it, or lose it. And then an event we have coming up with all of our partners that are here. As you can see at the bottom is our trunk or treat. It's going to be at Hummer Sports Park Sunday, October 31st, 5 to 7 o'clock. Last year the last couple years we've had really good turnout for that. So if you're interested in getting candy from all, like I said, all your community partners there, come on out for it. On the crime trends, currently, like I said, the car thefts are up a little bit. Other than that, we've had a couple business burglaries. We just sent out a media release on an arrest on a couple business burglaries that we made yesterday. That was based on video evidence and a business being proactive and saying, hey, we got this great video. So, like I said, we need everybody's help to make Topeka a better city and a better place to live. And we appreciate all the support. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. Judy?
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
Now we have Shawnee County Sheriff's Office Deputy Abigail Christian. Thanks, Abigail.
Thank you, Judy. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be back in person. We'll start here. We've just got a few slides of stats to show you, and then we'll get to some community events as well. Burglary and theft cases, we are up just 27 cases over the last month. And again, that comes a huge part from the community members that are getting security cameras, that are watching over their neighbors' houses while they're gone. If you're working from home and you see something, those are just extra eyes for us out in those neighborhoods, and we appreciate that. Next one, please. Thank you. Our methamphetamine arrests are up just 10 from last month. And actually, since we got the stats, I usually pull these stats right at the end of the month so we can get a full view. Since they were pulled, we actually just had 2 really good car stops over the weekend that led to more methamphetamine off the road and some illegal firearms as well. So I know we talk about making sure that we are taking things out of vehicles when we're locking them up, because those firearms do end up in the hands of criminals, and we will get to that one next. Up 15, last month we were at 14, so we're up just 1, but again, since we pulled these stats, we did have some good car stops over the weekend. I understand, because I'm a community member as well, that when you get pulled over by law enforcement, it can be nerve-wracking and scary. We just ask that you remain calm, just listen to what the officers ask of you, and if you have questions, please ask their questions. They just want to make sure that everyone else is being safe out there, and then in some of those instances, we are able to get some of these major drugs off the street as well. So those were some really good car stops we had just this weekend. And our last slide, we are up at 44 firearms that have been seized, and those are going to be the illegal firearms that we are taking off of people that are not allowed to have them anymore. And just over the last weekend, one of the car stops that we did have, the gentleman had methamphetamine as well as 2 stolen firearms, because he was a felon, so he was not able to legally possess them. And one of those firearms was a sawed-off shotgun, which is also not allowed as well. So that was a pretty good car stop, and we will continue to keep our deputies out there making those as much as possible. And October, go ahead. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have a lot of great resources here in Shawnee County. The YWCA we work really closely with, so we want to definitely promote this for the month and just tell people that if you are having issues, or if you know of someone that's having issues, there is a lot of help available. So please encourage your friends or whoever they are to seek help, and we can help anyone that is dealing with these issues. That next slide is going to go ahead and show you some of our domestic violence stats. This is going to be over a 10-year period. We're at 169 cases that we've responded to so far this year. And I will add that just the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office, this is not the Topeka Police stats, just our Sheriff's Office, we've had 2 homicides so far in 2021 that were domestic related. One was one homicide, and the other one was a homicide that is also a suicide after that as well. So again, just talk to people. If you see something, just try to encourage them to get some help, because we do have a lot of amazing resources here. All right, next slide, please. This week we started our memorial events. We have a table set up in the Sheriff's Office lobby that just is in memory of those officers that we've lost. Tomorrow we have a couple more events. We will go to those gravesites and pay our respects to them as well, and then a couple community-wide events for National Police Week as well. 2 Halloween events coming up community-wide. We are trying to push hard to our community members to just remind your kiddos some safety tips to keep them safe. We obviously want everyone to go out and have fun, get some candy, try not to eat too much, but we want them to be safe as well. So we will be at Boo at the Zoo on Saturday, October 23rd. And a big thing we like to hand out are those reflective bracelets, just to help those kiddos be a little better seen during the nighttime. And then that last slide there is just a trunk or treat that you've already seen. I will add in that it is drive-through, so it's COVID-friendly. Get the kids out there, let them interact with us a little bit, and let us give them some treats as well. If you guys have questions, we try to post as much as we can to our social media, and you're welcome to call or email, and we'll get back with you. Thank you guys for your time today. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Abigail. It's my pleasure to welcome Amanda Wilson. She's a licensed master social worker and has been a court service officer with the 3rd Judicial District Court Services since 2001. In 2018, she was promoted to the Drug Treatment Court Coordinator and rewrote the program model along with several other members of the Drug Treatment Court team. Help me welcome Amanda.
Thank you all, and thank you for having me here today to explain our program a little bit more. Mandy explained to me that there had been some questions. Do you want me to do that? And you'll have to excuse me, I'm not used to having a microphone, so if I'm too loud or too soft, please just tell me. Let's see here. Okay, and I made this pumpkin spice colored, something about, you know. So, 3rd Judicial District Drug Treatment Court, you may also hear it referred to as Shawnee County Drug Court. It's the same thing. Our program is an intensive supervision program aimed to provide individuals struggling with substance abuse the opportunity to avoid prison by making a true life change. Our goals are to improve the efficiency of the criminal court system, reduce substance abuse and negative effects of co-occurring disorders, and increase law-abiding behavior, excuse me, while reducing criminal recidivism, and promote the use of community resources. For me, for me, the most important thing would be the third one. I've lived in Shawnee County for 27 years. I'm raising kids here, and the drug and alcohol abuse is, I'd love to see an actual number, thank you, of how much it actually affects the crime rate in our community. Thank you for that, sir. Our team is composed of the drug court judge, which is Judge Osman, court services, my office, which is myself, and 2 court service officers, also known as probation officers to most people. The district attorney's office, Janelle Miller currently prosecutes our cases, the Kansas Board of Indigent Defense Services, and the conflicts office, and Vallejo Recovery Center and New Dawn Wellness. Those are our 2 treatment providers that we have memorandums of understanding with. These are our additional partners that also provide assistance, whether it's staffing or financial, to our program. These are the key elements. We have a steering committee, weekly staffings and dockets, subsidized treatment for all participants. That's paid through our grants, community partnerships and contracts, sanctions and incentives, court supervision, and all the services listed below. Okay, so to kind of summarize the program, this is probably what people want to hear. Everybody has to have been convicted of a felony drug or drug-related offense. The drug-related offense can be anything from theft, burglary, fleeing and eluding, but it has to have been, there has to be a correlation with addiction. They have to be facing a presumptive prison sentence, and participants, once accepted into the program, they're placed on bond supervision. So if they're in custody, like most of them are, they're released, conditioned on participating in the program. Their sentencing hearing is continued. It's pushed out indefinitely to allow them time to complete the program, which is a minimum of a year. And upon successful completion and graduation, the participant is rewarded with a non-prison sentence, or if they're unsuccessfully discharged from the program, their bond is revoked and their case proceeds to sentencing as it originally would. And again, they all are facing presumptive prison sentences. The conditions of the program. Obviously, all standard conditions of probation or bond supervision in Shawnee County apply. The program is 12 months minimum. But in addition to the standard conditions, they have to appear in drug court every Monday afternoon. They have to submit to random UAs through a color code hotline. Those are a minimum of twice a week. They have weekly supervision appointments with their CSO. Treatment, they have to attend treatment as recommended by an initial evaluation, which is provided by PARS, and then subsequently as they go on in the program, as recommended by their treatment provider. And they do have to be in treatment through the duration of the program. They have to attend an every other week drug court support group, and they have to advance. The program has 4 distinct phases, which each require 90 days of compliance. And each phase has kind of graduated requirements, such as in the first phase, they're out, they're trying to handle a whole bunch of things. We don't really worry about a job in that first phase. We worry about that second or third phase. This is our eligibility criteria, and it's really small, even to me. Don't have such good eyesight. But basically, to be eligible for drug court, the biggest thing is they have to be convicted of drug or drug offense and be looking at a presumptive prison sentence. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm trying to look at this because I can see it on my paper better. My poor eyesight. Okay, the first part just kind of goes through ways in which we can establish whether it's drug-related or not. Their criminal history, obviously they have to have enough criminal history to make their presumptive sentence prison, but there are a few things that could make them ineligible. They're ineligible if they have anything that requires registration, any sexual offense, and we also can't take cases of drug distribution or manufacturing. They have to be a resident of Shawnee County, and there are no mental or physical exemptions. They just have to be capable of participating in the program. We have unfortunately had, since 2018 when I came on board, we have unfortunately had 2 individuals that we've had and over time realized they weren't mentally capable of doing the program. I do think different arrangements in their sentencing were made though, so they didn't just go straight to prison. We are very conscious of that. I just throw this up here because whenever I talk, I'll usually have a couple people at the end go, what do you mean presumptive prison? How's somebody presumptive prison? Some of you may know this, but there is a sentencing grid. There's one both for drug and non-drug offenses. Across the top is their criminal history. Most people in this room are probably criminal history I, which is just 1 misdemeanor or no criminal record. Then A, it goes to A, which is the highest criminal history score you can be with 3+ person felonies. And then the severity level. Just a felony drug conviction, just possession, not distribution, is a level 5. So you can see if somebody is arrested even for a first-time felony drug conviction, if they have a criminal history A or B, they're going to be presumptive prison. And that's who we serve. This is the same thing as sentencing grid. This is just for non-drug offenses. There's also special sentencing rules that if somebody, even if they're not presumptive prison by the sentencing grid, there are certain rules that will then also make them. I don't really want to go through all of those, but I've just been asked for, well, how is somebody presumptive prison? This is how. It's not really something that a judge or we can decide. It's all kind of laid out in a pre-sentence investigation report. Okay, as opposed to just going through tons of demographics, yesterday, I just kind of went through this year what we've seen, just to kind of give you an idea of who we serve. Some of you may know, we used to be a diversion program for first-time drug offenders. Since we turned into more of we serve the highest risk and needs right now, offender, some of our numbers have greatly changed. For example, our male to female ratio. We have a lot more males, and our participants tend to be older in this newer program. We currently have 80% male, 20% female. You can see our race and ethnicity laid out. And as you can see, a large portion of our people, the 30 to 39 that's making up the 45%, I can tell you most of that percentage is at the high range of the 30s. Dual diagnosis. 80% of our participants this year have had a dual diagnosis. Mental health is also something that we've been working to address. 90% of our participants this year have served prior prison sentences. I think that says a lot. And I think right now we might have one who has ever completed a term of probation. So it's a challenging population we're serving, but it is what I guess best practice standard says this type of program is the most effective with, the highest risk and needs. The average number of prior convictions of a participant right now, that says 24%. It should just be 24. Our participant with the lowest number of prior convictions is 8. The highest is 63. We have another one in the 50s. Of 2021 cases, these are just the sort of charges we're getting. 54% of participants have been for felony drug possession, 19% for burglary. That's both residential and non-residential. Theft, 17. Aggravated assault is 4. Fleeing and eluding is 4%, and arson is 2%. I would point out that while theft is 17%, I have that as the 17% are those with that being their primary conviction. Several of these other ones have theft as a secondary conviction or another count. That is a really big one we see, and many of our participants have a lot of prior theft convictions. The current presumptive sentences ranges of people we're working with now range from 16 months to 57 months. So should they not be successful in the program and they have to go back to their sentencing judge to be sentenced, they could be looking at anywhere from 16 months to 57 months in prison. And that's the incentive of the program, is to better yourself first. We would like that to be the first motivation, but it's also to avoid a prison sentence. In addition to the supervision, seeing a CSO, going to therapy, going to their treatment, we do other things. We have some grant funding to assist with housing, with mental health services, bus passes, and we do that. We really help anytime possible to try to remove barriers to success. So those are our numbers for 2019, 2020, and so far in 2021 of the issuances of assistance we've given out. As you can see, 2020, our numbers are all low because of the COVID. Rewards and incentives, we hand out sobriety tokens, sometimes gift cards, just to kind of try to say good job. On the other hand, UA tests administered, again, it was low in 2020. The number of negative UA tests, though, I've kind of been pleasantly surprised with this. In 2019, 91% of the UAs submitted were negative. 2020, 87, it went down. We had a lot of participants really struggle with their addiction during the COVID shutdown. And in 2021, we're still at 88. We're still trying to pull that back up a little bit. Sanctions, 2019, 46. It went up in 2020, 65. We're currently sitting at 37. A sanction can be anything from, sometimes the judge will decide a violation would be better served by somebody writing a paper and having to present it in front of all of drug court, or more frequently, a sanction might be a 72-hour jail sanction, or it's also an option to revoke their bond, and somebody could sit in jail for a week or two if necessary until we figure out the plan to try to help them out more. So sanctions can mean several different things. Okay, positive UA results. I really just put this up here to kind of show what the drug of choice seems to be, and I don't think any of you probably have it. There's nothing surprising here. Methamphetamine is always seems to be the drug of choice, and it's what most of our participants struggle with. While there are some numbers here, that THC, 18% of UAs have been positive for THC. It's A lot of times that's secondary to the methamphetamine use. We're seeing an uptick in the heroin, but still I think we've only had 2 people that their drug of choice was heroin. Other than that, everybody has, drug of choice has been methamphetamine, unfortunately. Okay, and make sure I didn't skip one there. Okay, nope. Okay, we are funded by the City of Topeka Special Alcohol and Drug Funds, as well as Shawnee County Special and Alcohol and Drug Funds, the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners, Topeka Police Department. We receive yearly funding through the Tobacco Paraphernalia Tax Ordinance and the Topeka Community Foundation. And basically everything we spend, a great majority of it goes to treatment, is the biggest expense we have. And we're actually very happy with that because that money goes right back into other community agencies. This year we've had to use an inpatient center in Lawrence a little bit because Vallejo hasn't been accepting females still in their inpatient due to COVID. But we're actually quite happy that a majority of the spending our agency goes back into Vallejo and PARS and New Dawn here in our community. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
How many people do you have in the program now?
At this current time, we have 32 out of custody. We have probably about 10 more than that enrolled in the program right now, but they are either in residential treatment somewhere, or they are in the jail, either waiting for an inpatient treatment bed to begin the program, or they're there on a sanction. So right now, like last week, we had 32 in court.
Is that
in
about
person.
average?
It is, yeah, I would say that's about average. It got a little lower in 2020 because we stopped taking new clients because we weren't having court in person. It was hard for us to provide the structure necessary, so we stopped taking new participants there for a while in 2020, which actually wasn't that hard because a lot of the courts weren't continuing with sentencings, and so it got lower then, but yeah, this is about average. We've never gone too much above that. With just myself and 2 supervision officers. Well, I'm not saying we wouldn't go a lot above that. It would kind of be stretching our attention a little bit then, because we do spend a lot of time and attention with our participants, and with every new person we get, that kind of stretches a little bit more thin. So, Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned at one point that this kind of used to be a diversion program and now it's something else. Can you kind of explain what the difference between diversion versus diversion is?
Up until 2018, drug court was a diversion program for first-time drug offenders. It was people with low enough criminal history that by statute they would qualify to get a diversion, which would mean they would sign a diversion agreement, and then if they successfully completed the program, they wouldn't be convicted of the felony drug offense. Now, we're no longer a diversion program. They are convicted, and they have to be convicted before they come into the program. Instead of not avoiding a conviction being the motivation, the carrot, the incentive, now it is avoiding prison time. However, that same population from the old program that used to be able to, can still receive a diversion through the district attorney's office. And part of that, my understanding is part of that diversion agreement still entails a treatment requirement. But they don't have, there's really not a need for that intensive supervision with somebody with a really low criminal history and it's a first-time drug offender. So we just moved it so that we're providing this intensive supervision to a higher risk population. Because I've had some people ask, well, why can't these people get diversions anymore? That's not fair. They still can. That diversion is still available to them. We're just not all up on their back now. We kind of trust that that population can be a little bit more independent. Yes.
If there's money available to help with diversion, because I look at, you got more and more youth staying in the government, which is Social Security. They cannot afford diversion.
They can't, I'm sorry, they can't.
They cannot afford the diversion program. Youth that's staying with their parents or low income. So there are programs to help with those kids with diversion.
Honestly, I don't know the answer to your question. I don't. Our program is only for adults, and I've never worked in the juvenile, so I don't know. I know there's diversions available to both juvenile and adult, but I don't know what funding is available for that to help. I'm sorry. It's a good question. I just don't know the answer. Anything else? Well, thank you all very much for listening to me and for your time.
Thank you for attending the meeting today. As I mentioned earlier, you will receive a YouTube link and survey by email. If you would, take just a minute and fill in the survey on the table. That's a half sheet, if you would. This helps us to determine the different programs that you would like for the meeting. Today, the drug court was suggested by members that they would like to hear Amanda. So Amanda, we're really glad that you came today. Any other questions? If not, thank you so much for coming, and we'll hope to see you next month.